Wagwa gang, welcome to another sewing project. You're welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Marvelous, and on here I share pattern drafting, sewing tutorials, and everything fashion related that make fashion easy and fun. And on today's project, I'm going to be showing you how I made this beautiful shift dress. This is like a kimono dress. It has a button in front and a drawstring at the waistline. If this looks like what you're interested in, then do well to stick with me on this ride, as I'm going to be showing you every process of how I came about this beautiful dress. Don't forget to hit the subscription button if you're yet to do so, like, comment, and share. Let's get right into this tutorial. For this dress, we'll be making use of an African print and a plain black material. This is a Duchess material. I'll be using it to combine the sleeve and also the down parts and our basic sewing tools, of course. So if you notice this dress, like I said earlier, it's like a kimono. It has a button and it also has a drawstring, and it has a black combination at the sleeve part and also at the down part, and it also has a little bit of collar. If you observe, it has a little bit of collar here. Don't mind me, I was just trying to just illustrate it so you can understand. So let's go ahead and map it out. So I've gone ahead to fold my fabric. I folded two, like so. What I used in folding it is my round hip measurement, and I added extra 3 inches. Okay, so for the front is going to be having a button, just like I said, so I left 2 inches while folding for the front. So I'm not going to be imputing my neck depth measurement. So this is a cut together dress, so that means I'm going to be also mapping my sleeve, how long I want my sleeve to be. So for my sleeve, I want it to be 10 inches long, so I added 1 inches, which is I added half inches, sorry, which is 10.5. So for my neck depth, I did 3 inches. Okay, then I went down from my shoulder slope at that point by 1 inches, and I'm going to connect it down to my 3 inches neck width. So I'll just connect it straight down like so. Don't forget, like I said, I measured my shoulder and also my sleeve length of 10 inches and added 1 inches for joining. So down, I'm going down by 1 inches. This 1 inches is for the back depth, that is the depth of the back neckline. Okay, for the front is going to be a V neck, and we're going to be imputing that later on. So next, I'm going to be going down on how long I want my sleeve to be. So I'll be doing 10.5 inches. I'm doing 10.5 inches because 10 inches is the sleeve length and half inches is for joining. So at that point, I'm going to be inserting my round bust measurement, and I'll be adding 1 inches for ease, which is not a standard. You can do 2 inches if you want. Then I'll be adding extra 1 inches for joining allowance. I don't want the dress too everywhere, like I don't want it too big, so that's why I'm just adding 1 inches for ease. So next, I'll go ahead and map out my hip point, which is 25 inches, and I'm going to be marking the length of this dress. So for the length of this dress, I'm doing 35 inches, and I'll add 1 inches for hemming allowance. So I'll just go ahead and highlight those lines for you to see. So at my hip point there, I'll mark my round hip measurement, add my 1 inches for ease, and also my 1 inch for allowance. So what I have at my hip point, I'll mark it at the hem point of my dress, that is my dress length, because the down is not so tight, it's a free dress. Okay, so next, I'll just go ahead and connect all my lines like so. Don't forget that I imputed all my measurements after the 2 inches that I mapped out for my button allowance, and I'll go ahead and connect all my lines. I'll also go ahead and connect the sleeve parts, just like I'm doing here. So I'm just going to give it a curve at that point. This is just going to serve as my armhole curve for this dress. And voila, that's basically all. So at the top part, which is my shoulder, I'm just going to be adding a ½ inches for my joining allowance. I'll just mark it out so that when I'm cutting it out, I'll have an idea of where to cut out. So that's basically it. So next, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight my hemline for this gown, and I'm going to go ahead and cut out. So creative minds, at this point, if you're yet to subscribe, do well to hit on the subscription button and also turn on your notifications so you'll be the first to get notified when I upload new videos on this channel. So I'm going to just go ahead and cut out the neckline. Then I'll also go ahead and cut out the shoulder. So after cutting this, I did that off camera. I cut out interfacing for the front neckline and the back neckline. I'll tell you why later. So for the front depth, I went down by 9 inches. So that's how long I want mine to be after taking out the 1 inches that I took out initially. So 9 inches for my neck depth. You can do lesser, you can do more, depends on how exposed you want it to be. So I just did 9 inches and I'm going ahead and slash it open. Remember, there's a button in front of this dress like I said earlier, so I'll just slash it open like so. So guys, that's basically it for the cutting. Let's go ahead and join our fabrics together. So first, we're just going to go ahead and join the shoulder. So for the front, I'll just place it like so. Joining is going to be on the wrong side, guys, so just go ahead and join like so, and I'll go ahead and do that. So this was after I was done joining the shoulders. So you can see how neat it's looking. So just go ahead and give it a good press to get a beautiful outcome. So now we're going to work on our sleeve. Remember, there's a black attachment here, so I'll measure, which is 20 inches. So I went ahead to cut out this black fabric. I didn't cut it out on fold, so I cut it 3 inches and by 20 inches, so I did 20.5. So I'm going to show you how I'll be placing it on my sleeve. You can cut yours on fold if you want, but I won't be cutting mine on fold. So I placed the right side on the wrong side of my dress, and I'm going to be pinning it down. So I'll go to my machine and stitch all the way around using 1/4 inch, using 0.3 inches like I demonstrated with my hands. Then I'll go ahead and iron it open like so. I'll fold the other side of it like this and I'll stitch on it. I'll show you how I'm going to go about that. I'll first of all just go and stitch it all the way straight down, and I'll come back to you for the next step. So here I've gone ahead to stitch it like I said I would. So I bend it over like so, and I gave it a very good press like I'm doing here. So I went ahead and fold it in by 0.5 inches. Then I gave it a good press just to have that in place like I'm doing here. This is going to give your dress a very neat outcome, trust me. So I'll do that all the way to the other side, and I'll go to my machine and I'll top stitch neatly on it. Please let your stitch be as straight as it could be so as to get a very neat outcome. So next I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll show you. So this is how it looks like. This is how yours should be, as neat or even more neater than you already see here. So I'll go ahead and do that for the other sleeve as well. So after that, next we'll work on our collar. So for our collar, it came to the front a little bit by 2.5 inches. So I'll just go ahead and measure and mark 2.5 inches like so. And from that point, I'll go ahead and measure what I have all the way around like I'm doing here, and I'll cut out a plain black fabric for it. I have approximately 12.5 inches. So this is what I have. I measured it's approximately 13 inches. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and place like so. Then at the down part, I went ahead to trim out like 1/4 inches. then I'm going to go ahead and slant it. I'm going to do it for you to see. So I measured my 6 inches, that's 6.5 inches, and I marked it. Then I curved it like so. This is slanted curve that I did here because I want my collar to have that beautiful effects when I'm done. Then at the down part I went by 0.3 inches and I cut it out like I'm doing here, just to give it that beautiful curve at the shoulder part. You can see how beautiful it came out. I'll go ahead and iron this in place and stitch the side. So this is what it looks like by the time I was done stitching the sides. You can see how beautiful it came out. So now I'm just going to go ahead and stitch from that point I marked to the other point like so. I'll go ahead and stitch it and I'll come back. So this is what it looks like by the time I was done stitching. So next, remember I told you that I cut out interfacing, but you can use a bias for this to close up the front neckline and the back neckline. So now I'm going to join my interfacing together, that is the front and the back together. I'll stitch them in place to have it long. So after stitching in place, this is what it looks like. I'll go ahead and notch the midpoint. I'll also notch the midpoint of my dress so as to know where I'm going to start imputing from. Like I said, you can use a bias for this. It's also going to give you a very neat outcome as well. But for me, I just wanted to use the dress, that's the Ankara print, to just give it that beautiful look. So I'm just going to place it like I'm doing here and I'll pin it down. Note that I'm doing this only for the back and the front neckline, so my interfacing is going to stop exactly at my front neckline, that is the 9 inches that I imputed for my neck depth for the front. So I'll just go ahead and pin it down all the way to the front like I'm doing, and I'll go ahead and stitch it and I'll come back to show you the next step. So after stitching, I'll go ahead and fold it like so. So after stitching, I went ahead to give it a good press. So next, I'm going to go ahead and fold it just like I said I would. I'll just fold it a little bit inside. So at this point, you can use a hemming gum to lap it. So by the time you iron the hemming gum, it will be in place, but I'm going to be stitching mine just to give it a beautiful effect. So this was how it looks by the time I stitched it down a little. So now we are going to close up the sides of our dress. I'll close up the two sides. So after closing the two sides, next we're going to go ahead and close up the 2 inches we left for the button. So I'll just mark it, then I'll fold it in like you see me doing here. I'll go ahead and give it a good press, then I'll fold it in again by 0.3 inches and I'll run a stitch on it all the way straight down. So fold it in first by 2 inches, then fold it again by 0.5 inches and iron it. Then you go ahead and stitch it in place. So this was how it looks by the time I was done. I stitched it in place and you can see how beautiful it came out. So next we are going to work on the black fabric that we have on this dress. So I'm going to measure what I have round at the hemline of the dress. So I'll go ahead and measure it just like I'm doing. So if you decide to cut yours on fold, you can just place it on it, but I'm not cutting mine on fold. I'll cut it at one piece the same way I did for the sleeve. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out. All right. So after cutting it out, this is what it looks like. I went ahead to hem the down part. So for instance, if yours you measured for instance for 3 inches, ensure that the black fabric you are cutting is 44 inches. So I'll go ahead and stitch it in place using the same method I used initially. Right side fitting wrong side, and I bend it over and fold it. Basically the same way we did for the sleeve. So this is what it looks like by the time I was done. So next we are going to work on our drawstring. So from the shoulder, I marked my waist measurements and I imputed it like so. So I go ahead and mark my waist measurement and I'll go ahead and draw a straight line across just to give me a guide on how my string should be placed. So I'll also do that for the back as well. I'll measure my waist and I'll draw a straight line like I'm doing here. So next I'll go ahead and cut out like a 1.5 inches band long enough to cover round. I'm measuring it, so ensure you measure round what you marked to get the accurate measurement of how long your band should be. So after cutting out the band, I'm going to go ahead and iron it. So this is what it looks like. By the time I cut it out, I went ahead to iron both sides in place like so. So now I'm going to go ahead and place it at the center front, away from, I'll fold it in like I'm doing here. I'll place it away from where I'm going to be placing my button. So I'll go ahead and top stitch on it. So this is what it looks like by the time I went ahead to top stitch on it. You can see how beautiful it's looking. I also went ahead to sew a rope just like you see here. So now I'm going to go ahead and insert the rope. You can use a needle for this, whichever makes it easy for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert this rope all the way around this dress. After inserting the rope around this dress, the next for us is to go ahead and insert our buttons. I'm going to be fixing my button off camera, but I'm going to be showing you how you can go about the placing of the buttons. And voila, our dress is coming out nicely, as you can see. So now I'm going to be measuring how I want my buttons to be and my buttonhole. So I'm going to be doing 3 inches apart. So I'm just going to go ahead and measure 3 inches apart for my buttonhole and where I'll be fixing my button. I'll take my dress to where I normally fix my buttonhole and I'll do that. You can do 2.5, you can do 3.5, it depends on you. With this, we've come to the end of this tutorial. I hope this video was helpful. Don't forget to like, comment and share, and also subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much guys for watching. See you in my next tutorial. Bye.